Hello and welcome to the UMass Amherst Alumni Association virtual session. Tonight we're going to be presenting Pause, Reflect, and Evaluate Your Career Path. We're thankful that you're all able to share with us today and talk with us today, and we hope that you brought your questions. To start off, I just want to introduce those of us who are behind the scenes helping to get your questions to our speakers. So my name is Karen Schultz-Battistoni. I'm the Director of Alumni Volunteer Relations, at UMass Amherst. I have with me Joe Piderfeit, who is a Regional Alumni Officer. And the two of us are going to be in the chat box helping to get your questions to the speakers and also to help with troubleshooting any questions you might have about Zoom technology. So a few details to just make you aware of for this session. To connect with us, you can chat with us. You can choose to chat with just the panelists or with the panelists and the attendees. What you decide to do is totally up to you. All throughout the session, we'll be taking questions, so don't feel that you have to wait at any time. You can also raise your hand or do a reaction in there as well. There's a few options at that bottom toolbar. For stronger audio sound, many people connect by their phone, or you can also listen through the audio on your computer or other device that you're watching the screen. For tonight's session, we are recording it, so participating in tonight's session is your consent to being part of a recorded session. We will be, after this session, taking the recording, adding closed captioning, and then putting it on our webpage. So if there's pieces where you say, I didn't quite get all those details, I was trying to absorb everything and I couldn't write down the notes that I wanted to, we'll have this session available in the future so that you can go back to it and look at some of those details. Chat questions that you put into the box, anything that you ask in there, we will not be calling people out by name, so you can remain as anonymous as you wish. So no worries on anonymity. Okay, so let's get started. So to start us off, I wanted our three speakers to just introduce themselves and give a few thoughts on some personal tips and professional advice for how they go about that whole pause and reflection for their career decision. So our three speakers tonight, we have Bill Bean, Kim Balauchuk, and Natasha Faye Saunders. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and we can have everybody pull up their cameras and we can get started on the conversation.
Hello.
Hello. So Bill, would you like to start us off on introducing yourself and giving a few personal tips and professional advice for pausing and reflecting on your career path?
Sure. So my name is Bill Bean. I am a UMass graduate in business in '70 and in that very popular major wood technology in 1975. And I went right from there working with International Paper Company, a Fortune 500 company in New York City, Manhattan. And ever since then, I've been involved in strategic planning, which I recognize at one point is very close to career planning. So I got some career coaching certifications for careers, executive coaching, retirement career coaching, and the like. And been working with UMass in consulting and coaching for quite some time. It seems to me that when a crisis like this happens, and there haven't been many, it's difficult to kind of put everything together and figure out what to do and where to start and all that. The thing that I saw that was most similar was in 2008 with the financial crisis, and I did a lot of coaching with people that didn't just lose their jobs, they lost their careers. There were 3,000 people in Boston in the financial industry, and they were never going to work in that industry again. So part of what I learned out of that was it seems to make the most sense as you try and deal with this personally and professionally to try and get a little bit longer view. If you just think about what's going to happen tomorrow, it can be frightening and very difficult to deal with. But if you start to think about a little bit further out and what you want to do and who you want to be, it gives you a little bit more time to be able to deal with it and assimilate the information, and it seems to lessen the anxiety and make you more productive. So those would be my initial thoughts.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Kim or Natasha, who'd like to go next?
I'll jump in. My name is Kim Belowchuk, class of 1982 from, I guess what's now Eisenberg School of Management. I spent the first part of my career working in corporate HR roles for high-tech and financial services companies, and realized that most of the people I was working with were just in the wrong job. So figured out how to get to them earlier, and shifted my career to working with college students as in campus career centers. In the last 14 years, I've run my own company, working with new and recent college grads and people in transition. So clearly this is a big transition for all of us, and one that we didn't plan for or expect necessarily. Certainly not the intensity, I think, that we're all feeling as this is sort of evolving around us. So I have three pieces of, I guess, three things I would recommend that you use this time for. The first is to just be still in whatever way that means for you, and just notice what you're missing or what is feeling good about the shift that's happened. So it may be, gee, I am able to work from home, or I'm not able to work from home, and that's something that's really important to me. There's a whole variety of things like that, but just start to feel what feels good or what doesn't feel good. I think this is, so that's number one. Number two, I think this is a great time to reconnect with people. Lots of us are home, all of us are home, right? So we have lots of opportunity and space in our lives to reconnect with people that maybe we haven't seen. So whether those are alumni connections or friends or previous coworkers, just reaching out to them and giving them a quick hello, a good time to nurture your network and see where people are at and what's going on. And then number three, thinking about where you might want to go going forward, right? What kinds of things can you visualize as we come out on the other side of this? Bill mentioned, in 2008 that some jobs just completely disappeared. There's no doubt in my mind that the work landscape is going to look very different as we come out of this being at home, and things are shifting in lots of different ways. So how can you visualize what's important to you, where you want to be, who you want to be working with, what kinds of values and goals are important for you? So I'm happy to answer more questions after we finish the introductions. Natasha?
Great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tasha, and I graduated from UMass Amherst in 2001. I loved my time there, actually. I lived in Central and then Southwest. And I actually designed my own major. So I was in the BDIC program, bachelor's degree with an individual concentration. I was one of those after like 3.5 years, 4 years, what are you doing? Are you even going to graduate? And I was like, oh, I want to graduate. And then I found out about BDIC. So I was able to design my own program so I could leave in the 5th year. So I was a little, I was a slow bloomer, so to speak, but eventually I turned out well. The three things that I love that I always share with people are fashion, fitness, and finance. And that's basically what I studied while I was at UMass. And I called my major Independent Image Consulting, because the hope was that I can personal shop for someone, then look through their personal family finances at the same time. With that, I then transitioned, went the fashion route, the Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, jumped over to Macy's, entered into this HR space, went back into finance and the stock market for a bit for a brokerage firm, which I loved, and then kind of pivoted, merging those together. I had a really awesome mentor that kind of just said, I think you'd be really good in HR. You should think about that. And I am a huge advocate of mentoring. I can talk a little bit about that later, but honestly, I wouldn't be anywhere I am today without a litany of mentors. I have so many mentors. I'm probably in the 20s, maybe even 30. I don't know. I have a lot. And with that said, I won't go too much into detail, but the three things that I immediately thought about is what I did, because I do work full-time. About a year and a half ago, I took a full-time job after freelancing for about 10 years. And I had to kind of just pause, come to my house, and figure out what's going on in my house. Like, what's going to be my workspace? You know, where can I study? Where can I work? Because I'm also a full-time doctoral student. So I kind of had to navigate my surroundings, think about the relationships that I have. And something that has been keeping me afloat that I can go into detail about later is I set up my own, what I like to call circle of influence. So I have Zoom groups that I control, that I run with my friends and with my family. And we do once a week check-ins. We're eating, we're drinking, having a good time, and that's drinking water or soda. Okay. And so we, you know, we have the family gatherings, and we also have, I started a study group for people that are actually in school and at home. And once a week we get together and study together virtually through Zoom. So there's a few other things I've done, and I'm glad to share them with you a little bit later.
Okay, great. Thanks, Natasha. So to start us off, I think that kind of set the stage on a few tips and how you yourselves are trying to navigate all of this. I know we've already gotten some questions from the audience on some of these reflections, I think, that people have been having in the past few weeks about their job situation and where their career path is going. So Joe's going to start us off with the first audience question.
Sure. Well, thank you, Karen. And hey, panelists, it's so great to have you. Thanks so much for helping us out tonight. So our first question comes from someone who, and I think a lot of us can relate to this, you know, since we're all kind of working from home, we're not really in our same normal routine, you know, so how would you advise someone who, you know, is a little bit hesitant about sort of looking forward to another day of work, you know, trying to get into their routine, you know, that sort of thing, kind of sort of not really, you know, feeling enthusiastic about work or life or that kind of stuff? So I don't know, maybe if Bill, you might want to start, or if anyone else
So I'm
specifically
going
has
to start. Well, the first thing I would say is don't be too hard on yourself. These are very extreme, unusual times. Nobody's ever dealt with this before. That brings a lot of uncertainty. We don't know when it's going to get better. There's a lot of issues going on. So I would say give yourself a little bit of a break. And if you can, work at it in pieces and try and start to think about what am I going to do and how am I going to change? You know, there's a lot of different job situations. We don't really know whether you're in the beginning of your career or towards the end of your career, trying to think about retirement or lost your job. I mean, there's a lot of different situations that can be out there right now. But just start to think step by step of where you could go next. And like I said in the beginning, most of the success that I've seen in the clients that I have coached is not think about what's the job that I have to get tomorrow. It's who do I want to be and what do I want to be 5 to 10 years from now. And if you start thinking about that and you look at some job postings of positions you might want to have later on, that can tell you, I'm at point A now, I want to go to that point, which is point B, draw a straight line between them, and every decision that you make can be on that line taking you where you ultimately want to go. And it seems as though if you start to frame out really what you want to do in the future, it gives you more confidence, it revitalizes you, it gives you more energy, and at least gives you a direction to go with. So that's what I would suggest, but don't kick yourself because you don't feel raring to go every morning, because this is a very unusual situation.
Yeah, I would just add on to that too. Like Bill said, this is an unusual situation. So if you can start to create some sort of routine for yourself at home, whether that's a morning ritual or something that makes you feel like you're in some sort of routine. And I think, you know, in this world of technology where we are able to be on all the time, it's really important to take a break and step away. So go for a walk, shut your Zoom down, say I'm not available for the next hour, go take lunch. You know, be able to take that break and pull yourself away so that you can recharge your batteries. all of the news and all of the stuff we're doing online is draining all of our energy. I've been on calls for, I don't know, 10 hours today. I can't even keep track, right? So it's really important to take care of yourself, whatever that means for you. Take your dog for a walk, whatever it is, find something that's going to rejuvenate you in some way.
And a last piece to that, more just on the social emotional side of the house of how you're feeling. You're like not feeling excited, you're not enthusiastic. And so a few things came to mind I track my emotions actually on an app, and I have my clients track their emotions. Now you can use an app, you can use a calendar that's hanging up in your bathroom, you can use a journal. And so I do think in addition to that, you just want to keep track of how you're feeling, because I'd be curious to know if it's, today, tomorrow, and if you're still feeling this way 2 weeks from now and 3 weeks from now. If it's an extended period of time, then I might be suggesting that we might need to bring in someone else to have a discussion, maybe a doctor, just to see how things are going emotionally. I've had clients that, needed a multivitamin, because their energy was so low. And I asked them, hey, when was the last time you took your multivitamin on your St. John's wort? And they're like, oh my God, I've been home for 3 weeks. I totally forgot about my multivitamins. And so I love all of our ideas. So I want to add tracking how you're feeling daily, and then stopping and saying, hey, have I taken my vitamins? Did I step outside to get some vitamin D? Because even if I'm down, I had promised myself that I was going to go outside and stand there and watch the sunset. And I do it every day. It's just a few minutes, but it helps.
Yeah, I think those are two great points. And for me personally, I definitely found the getting into the routine, that sort of thing. And for me, it's, making sure I wear like a button-down shirt so that I feel like I'm still at work, even if, I'm at home sitting at the kitchen table or something. It still sort of feels, like I'm going to the office, or I'm being productive. So I think Karen is gonna have our next question.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. The next question comes from the audience. An audience member, she was saying that she just got a good paying job, full-time with salary and benefits, and now she's been offered a position in a PhD program in biomedical science. So it would take 4 to 5 years to complete this degree program. And it would also mean that she would have to move to a new city, and she would have to quit that job because it would be a full-time commitment to undergo school. So, and then the person also asked if, Natasha, you might be willing to talk a little bit about your balance of doing your doctorate program and what kind of program it is and how you balance that with work. So I guess it's kind of a two-parter question. Should I contemplate perhaps leaving the job to go to grad school, given what's happening in the world and this opportunity? And how do you balance all of that?
Do my peers want to take the first piece of that, and then I'll wrap it up with my experience?
Yeah, I can jump in. I think the piece is that before you make that decision, you need to decide what it is that you want to do, right? Is the job in alignment with what you want to do, or is the doctoral program, is this the right time for you to do it? I think only you can make that decision. I think it's easy to get caught in the money and a great benefited job, but if it's not the right one for you, it's not going to last very long. And I speak from personal experience, right? I've done jobs where I followed the money and then I think, oh, this isn't really where I want to be. And most of my clients are the same position, right? So begin to think about what makes sense for you. And on the flip side, is the doctoral program right for you just because it seems like a cool thing to do? Is it because you really want to do it and it's in alignment with who you are and what your gifts are to contribute to the world? Or is it more just it sounds cool to get my doctorate?
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I think figuring out where you ultimately want to be. I mean, a lot of clients that come to me, they go, well, I'm thinking about getting a master's degree. And my first question is, well, what do you ultimately want to be? And do you need a master's degree in order to be able to do that? This is a 4 or 5 year program. That's a long time. So, I mean, that may be a safe place to be during this crisis. But my suggestion, again, would figure out, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I don't know how old you are right now, but that will make a difference. And figure out, do I really need this degree to get there? If you do, and you've been accepted, and it's a good time for you to do it, and it takes you in a direct line from where you are to where you want to go, that's a good idea. The other thing is that if you know where you want to end up 5 or 10 years after you get the degree, you may be able to build some of that into the curriculum of the program that you're going to be getting into, and you can explain that to them now so that they would help craft you that. So that, I mean, what you really want to do is figure out where that industry is going so that you have information on the leading edge of it when you go into the industry. And the other thing you could do is, if that's important to you, I don't know what your current job is or how that relates to the field that you're thinking of going into, but if they value you and are offering you a promotion, there may be some way where you could do that and get a similar type of degree and still maintain your job. So there's a lot of things to think about there, but congratulations on both, with your current job and getting accepted to the doctoral program. And then those are two good things.
Awesome. I agree with everyone. I do think without knowing what specific PhD program you're speaking of, there's a lot of variables to flush out, right? So, I'm thinking about my students that I served at MIT. They're on the lab side of the house and the scientific side, the STEM side. And those labs are actually shut down right now. We're not sure when they're going to be reopened, working on that. So there's a lot of variables that I was thinking about for you to start outlining. Here's my PhD program. What is their budget for the program? Do you get a teaching appointment with that program? And is that, will they give you a job on campus? Are there benefits like health benefits? And really taking some time to speak with the faculty in that program. And the institution that I work for now, there's a lot that's frozen. The labs are frozen, PhD research is frozen, faculty aren't on campus, budgets are now frozen, housing is now shut down, you can't live on campus. And so we don't know when and how that's going to take place. Like, when are we going to phase people back on campus? So if you want to do a one-on-one just offline to talk, really map that out, any of us could definitely assist you. I can assist you with that as well. But on the other side, I'm a big higher education fan. I have multiple degrees, and that's just me. So it is a tough question to say, is now a good time? I will say this, in some cases it will be, because from an admissions standpoint, I used to serve on the Ivy League, Ivy Plus admissions committee. And I will say some of the statistics for the testing scores, some schools are relaxing testing scores, some schools are low on enrollment, and they literally have accepted everybody on their wait list, literally. So sometimes the market is like, ooh, it might be my time to strike this, and get this opportunity. So let's chat offline, because if it's fully funded, and there's an extension and an expiration date on being fully funded, that's something that we would just have to flush that out. There's a lot of variables there.
That was a great amount of detail, Natasha, and everyone. I think those are some good things to think about. It's multi-layered, and as Natasha was alluding to, and others as well. So we have the career counselor program, and
I'm so
Natasha,
sorry, Karen. I forgot to answer the last part. How do I balance?
Yeah.
We can chat offline, but honestly, I am extremely, extremely detailed when it comes to my schedule. So I literally say no, and I wake up every day at 4:50 in the morning, and I go to bed at 9:50 at night. In order for me to do that, I have to be like very conscious of my time. So we can always talk about that offline, but I mean, you've got to put the foot down on your time.
Yeah, it's, I guess, the biggest resource we all have, right? Time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really get extra, you know, so it's good. So with the career counselors, all of the folks tonight are career counselors. So I'll show you the page and everything where you can read more about them and get their email address and things like that to be able to connect with them, to talk and have a virtual meeting and connect and get some info. The first session is complimentary. Additional sessions, you get a UMass alumni discounted rate. Whether you're an alum or a current student of UMass, you get that discounted rate. So it's a great opportunity to kind of tap into that one-on-one ability to have a conversation, because you can Google things and you can read articles, but sometimes you just want to talk your scenario through with one other person, right? So it looks like we have a few other questions coming in. I'm going to turn it to Joe to pull out the next one for us.
Sure. So someone is asking that there is a role in a different department that sounds really interesting to them, and it's in the area, you know, in the industry that they want to be in. But they're wondering if they should stay in their current position or if they should transfer that to that job, even if it's not the most interesting job for them, but it's in sort of, you know, the sector that they want to be in. And would this be a good time to do that? It's a great question.
Well, I mean, we're only getting part of the information we need to actually give you a really good answer. But if there's an opportunity and it's within the same company, and you can make that move over, and the company is stable so that you're not going to move and then get caught short with the current situation, and you like the person that you would be working for, and you believe that it would give you some additional skills. It sounds as though you're not all that excited about the job. You just think it's a good opportunity. So again, where are you heading in 10 years, and is this going to take you a step in that direction? But it sounds as though if you're in a company and it's stable and they're offering you a position that would be an advancement, and that will help your career and help you start to move in the direction you want to go in, you should seriously consider it. That would be my take.
Thoughts from Kim or Natasha on that?
Yeah, I guess I would agree with the same thing. If it's, and it's not clear from the question, but if it's the same, if it's a different role but the same company that gets you closer, then it's always easier to stay at the same company and switch roles than switch roles and companies at the same time. So they've already given you the benefit of the doubt by being part of their organization. So if it's something you'd like to try, it may be an easier way to do it than to leave the company and try a different role. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know, if it's something of interest, you know, this is also a time, like I said earlier, you know, reach out to some people and have some conversations and make sure that it's the right next step for you and not just a good promotional opportunity, right? So talk to some other coworkers. What do you like? What don't you like? What's it like to work within this department? You know, ask all those questions. Information is free. People love to share their experiences and give advice. So take advantage of that while you've got some quiet time.
Yeah, I'm with Bill and Kim on this one. The things that I wrote down while they were talking is, who are you working for? Because I'm big on leadership biographies. So I need to know who that is and how that person can add value to you. They covered that. What is the impact? Are you going to increase a certain skill? Like, I know you want to do it, but are you adding onto your skill set? Are you using a different database or system? And then I don't know if you can get this information, but today I had a really good conversation about asking a department when was the last time they had layoffs. And it was a tough question, but I got an honest answer. And we actually went back a little bit to 08, and then we kind of went back to kind of see what departments are less likely to lay off based on what they do. So however you need to approach that, it's a sensitive question, but just be clear, you know, that you have all the information when you decide to make that jump.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. It's I think really helpful to be able to mine the questions together because we're getting multiple perspectives while I think we're still heading people on that focus of helping to reflect and really keep the lines of communication open. I think sometimes it can be difficult for people to find someone to talk through some of this with. So that's why a lot of these sessions are so valuable. So I know Joe's got another question, so I'll turn it back to him for the next one.
Yeah, so in a similar vein, we've had a couple people ask kind of a similar question about what your sort of overall thoughts were about switching jobs in the current climate. You know, a couple people have said that it would be a forward move. So they'd be, you know, basically they'd be promoting, they'd be getting a promotion, they'd be furthering their career. So, you know, is this a good time to sort of do that? I know, Natasha, you had said, I think you had a great question about when was the last time a company had layoffs or that kind of thing. So, you know, what kind of thoughts, I guess, should people put into, you know, making that kind of transition, especially now? Kim, I think you were raising your hand.
Yeah, I was looking for my unmute button. You know, I think it goes back to why are you moving, right? And I know I feel like we keep saying the same things, but you know, figuring out what your next step is and why is important. So I know lots of people who are changing jobs right now, but they're changing jobs for the right reasons. Because it's in better alignment with where they're going or what they want to do. Maybe it's a closer commute, maybe it's better for their family life. So it goes back to what I said earlier, like understanding what's really important to you, what are your values, what are the reasons that you're taking or staying at the job that you're in. And it's easy to get wooed by something that seems superficially to be good. But you know, take some time and really think about what and why you're moving so that you can make a deliberate choice and a mindful choice and not just a knee-jerk reaction. Long term, you're going to be far more satisfied if you're moving, you know, in a direction that makes sense for you. And it doesn't mean that we haven't all taken jobs that are sort of, you know, quote unquote, right for now, for whatever reason. But do that deliberately too. Right? And not just because somebody offers you a job, do you take it and hope that it works out? It might. I've had some good opportunities like that, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and one important thing to think about here is that these are crazy times, but there are clearly winners and losers in industries that are doing well. If this is with an airline or a cruise ship company, you may not want to take it, but there are a number of companies that are doing very well right now. If you work for Zoom, let me tell you, it's unbelievable. So taking a look at that industry and seeing where you think it is and where you think it's going, at least intermediate term, because there's a major change in the infrastructure right now. Another thing is, which we haven't really talked about the process, but make sure that if you're interested in taking another job, that they give you something in writing that lays out all of the specifics of what that job is, and understand who you're working for. And if you're going to interview them with them, you know, ask them questions like, if we were sitting here a year from now and this turned out exactly the way that you wanted it to be, what would have happened? And see what they say and see how they talk about leadership and the values of the company and all that kind of stuff, and the opportunity and how they manage people. Learn as much as you can, but make sure you get it in writing and have them outline everything that you talked about. Make sure that you've got it so that you can make the right decision.
Okay, we're getting a few more questions in, so if possible, I'm just going to try to move forward just so we can get to as many as possible, if that's okay.
Sure. Can I just add one comment though? It won't be long.
Thing.
Just make sure in the offer that it explains how parts of this job can be done remotely, and if they have the technology and the tools that you would need to do part of your job. Now jobs are moving to have flex opportunities, a couple of days from home. So probe that first before you just, you know, make the leap. That's it.
Okay. So the next question is, there's somebody that said that they planned on quitting their current job, which is in an academic lab, because right now they're working from home. They say they've been not enjoying the whole remote working, hands-on learning, and science is really more where they feel at home. So they've been looking at quitting their current job, moving across the country in a few months, and then trying to find a similar position in a lab with a different research topic, but concerned about, if I pick up and move, am I going to be able to find anything? How do you weigh, I guess, that taking the leap and, you know, when to do it, and how much information should you have before you kind of put yourself out there?
Who wants to go first on that one?
I'll go first and turn it to you guys, because honestly, to me, you're in what I call an information gathering stage. So you cannot make a decision because you don't have enough data. So I'm going to let Kim and Bill wrap that up, but the data as in, where are you going right now? And how are you getting there? Is the city and town open? Did the governor open the city? When do they think they might open the city? The budget of the city? What companies are still in existence that you think you might be targeting in that location? There's a lot of research that needs to be covered at this particular stage. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it goes back to that information gathering. You know, who can you talk to that's working in that location? Why are you moving? What's your time frame? You know, is it within the next 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, right? To start to think about what that looks like, and who can you start to connect with before you even get there, right? And maybe line up some, you know, now we're all doing stuff from home. So whether we're, you know, next door to each other or across the country, we're still doing a Zoom call. I have clients who are accepting jobs without ever having gone into the office, because they're doing it, everybody's working remotely. So I would think really hard about who you can connect with, and don't be afraid to reach out. UMass has a huge alumni network, so tap into people. I get, you know, I know I do this, we all do this for a living, so this is easier for us. But you know, there's a, and Karen can give me the right name on this, but another alumni advising group, that people that have offered to just network and do informational interviews. And by informational interviews, I mean just that interview people for information to get, you know, what do you like about your job? What do you like about where you live? What don't you like about it? What advice would you give me? Do I need a degree? Do I, you know, can I work in a lab? Can I work from home? All of those kinds of questions. But really, you know, use your network to see who you can connect with. You can probably help me with numbers here, but something like 80% of jobs never get advertised. So if you're spending 100% of your time looking for 20 to 25% of the jobs, you're missing a whole bunch of them out there. So get on the phone or get on Zoom or email or LinkedIn and start connecting and talking to people.
So this is a hunker
Yeah,
down.
and that,
I wouldn't be quitting a job if you have no clue where you're going to go or what you're going to do when you get there. That's a very risky thing to do at this point, in my opinion. I'd agree with them. You have a time now to do a lot of legwork. You may not be the perfect job, but you're getting a paycheck every week.
yeah. So to piggyback on what Kim was mentioning, the program is called Alumni Advisors, and you can get to it by going to umassalumni.com/advisors, ADVISORS. And then you can show up on that page and create a profile. You can give advice, you can get advice, you can do both. It doesn't cost you anything but time. And it's a great way to find people. You can search by company, location, major, keyword, and everybody is on there because they've put themselves in that platform because they want to have conversations with you. All right, I want to jump to the next question. So this person says they recently lost their job, and prior to that, they were unhappy with what they were doing. So now they're trying to refocus and determine where they want to be. So what kind of advice do you have on self-discovery techniques and how to determine next steps in this kind of situation?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'd start looking at job titles that you think you might want to be involved in much later in your career and figure out what are they looking for? What would you need to have for skill sets in order to do that? and see how many you have and start thinking about how you can get some of the other ones. But it shouldn't be a job that you just say, well, you know, that might work. If you look around, you'll be able to find something and the hair on the back of your neck will stand up and you go, man, I would really like to do that. And it will give you energy and get you a little bit more direction. And as you start to talk about the steps and the process of getting to that, you'll come across much more confident in interviews because you'll have something to say. You don't just say, well, I'm passionate about this company. You can say, here's where I'd like to go. I believe that this would help me in that direction. I believe that the skills that I have can add a significant amount of value to you in the meantime. I've looked at your company. I think it's a good one, and I'd really like to take the next step of getting together and talking in more detail. But so this is a good time to think forward. But if you can figure out a job title, then if you start to read those resumes or the job postings, you'll start to figure out the language bank for that particular industry and job structure, so that when you start to talk to people, you'll be using the terms that they're familiar with of someone who is comfortable in that industry.
To add to Bill, if you were doing self-discovery, some of the things or some of the questions I like to ask is there something that really irks you, that you don't like, that you kind of hate, like a problem that's going on in the world that just drives you crazy? And sometimes people have an answer because there's something that they're like, well, this isn't right. And maybe that's why I'm on the policy side now, because if there's an issue, then there could be somewhere of a career interest and a problem of practice that really bothers you. So I would look at kind of something that bothers you versus something that you love. In addition, as far as assessments, there's tons of assessments and all the coaches can bring those up. I do have a favorite. Mine is Strength Finders. I'm a huge fan of Strength Finders and discovering your top 5 strengths so that we can at least look at what your strengths are and where you could use those strengths in an environment or an issue or a concern that really, that you'd want to work in or help solve in some capacity.
Okay. Can we jump to the next question then? Because we still have a few more, if that's all right. We had a question about how to deal with job rejection. So going through that whole process and then they do not pick you. How do you kind of handle that and keep going?
I'll defer to my colleagues on that one.
Well, if you've ever been a salesman, the first thing you need to do is learn how to deal with rejection. It ain't personal, it's just business. If they didn't pick you, it probably wasn't right for you and right for them. So I wouldn't carry it with me. The other thing is, a lot of times people don't get selected is they don't do the research they need to about the job that is out there. You know, I've given presentations and someone will say, I sent out 50 applications and I didn't hear back from any of them. And my response was, well, the first thing is you shouldn't be sending out 50 applications. Take 10% of your time and narrow it down to 3 and spend 90% of their time on those 3. And look at their most recent press releases and take a look at, if it's a public company, take a look at the inside cover of their annual report and see what their vision is, what their mission is, what they're trying to do, and then relate your skills to what they're trying to do. So I wouldn't worry, everybody gets rejected. Failure is part of success. So I wouldn't worry about that at all, but I'd be very, very disciplined about the jobs, investigating the jobs that are best for me and where you can truly deliver impactful skills, quantifiable skills to them. And you'll have a much better chance of getting a little bit further in the process, has been my experience with clients.
Yeah, I would just add in, every no gets you closer to a yes. And there's a reason that that didn't work for you. So what can you learn from that experience so that you can find something that's a little better in alignment next time? I know sometimes it hurts that, you know, you weren't selected as much an ego piece as a skills assessment piece. But use that as a learning experience. Okay, well, maybe it wasn't quite right, and it would have been great to get that job. It was a cool company or a cool, you know, opportunity, but keep going. Just keep going. Don't let that get you down, right? That energy will come through on follow-up interviews. So just flush it out, let it go, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, right.
Okay, the next one we've got, Joe is going to ask. It's a little bit more detailed about some of those planning steps. Joe, if you want to take that one.
Sure. So you've all mentioned, kind of having plans and, kind of having a 10-year plan. But how have you sort of assessed where you would want to be in the next 10 years? We always kind of hear that the traditional trajectory is kind of, moving up the ladder into managerial roles in the company, that sort of stuff. So how would you include personal and professional goals into that plan?
I think they're all related, right? I think that to evaluate where you're going next includes where you are personally as well as professionally, what you're good at, what you're interested in. For me, and I know Bill said 10 years, 10 years feels like a really long time for me, but maybe it's 10 years ultimately where I want to be, and you start to back that up. Okay, well, if I want to be in this general industry or this general area, then I need to take these steps in order to get there. Maybe it's a degree, maybe it's a different job. That comes from that informational interviewing. I know I sound like a broken record. That's where I find most of my value and recommend that my clients do too, right? Just talk to people and see what they say. What advice do they give you? I think Bill said it too, when you start to get that tingling, like that, the hair stands up on the back of your neck, like, wow, this is cool. This is where I want to be. That's where you start to focus your energy. Your energy is going to light up. Your passion is going to get excited. People are going to want to hire people that are excited about working for them. So pay attention to all those subtleties, right? I said at the beginning of my introduction, be still and start to notice those things. Notice how you feel when you're in a room and things are exciting or they're not exciting, right? And you're like, oh, let me go check this other piece, or I'm going to start making that list, or start to decide what I'm going to have for dinner this week. Then that's not what you want to do. So you want to find something that really lights you up inside, that you get passionate and interested in. I have a different assessment that I use, a skills assessment that looks at skills and interests and values, ideal work environment. We kind of mix up all those pieces and spit out something that seems relevant for you. But you still need to do the research. It's not a magic wand that I say, here you go. Right? So you got to do the work.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to talk offline about this as well. My business is strategic planning. The name of my company is Green Planning and Coaching. And there's different aspects of it. The first thing you do in putting a plan together is you take a look at all the current information, and then you took a look at trends. And so you can see what you're good at. If you've heard of the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, take a look at all of those, see what changes you think there are going to be in the industry you're interested in, and then create a vision of what you think that you will look like or it will look like in sometime in the future. Most strategic plans for businesses are 3 years, but they may pick a 5 or 10-year vision just to have a bearing point in the future. So you do your overall vision, your mission statement, your objectives, your strategies, and your actions. It's a very disciplined approach to going and looking at it. But you start with taking a look at what's out there, what you're good at, what you don't like, what skills you have, what skills you want to have, and what the opportunities are. So I'd be happy to talk further about that, but I don't want to take any more time tonight. And the other thing is, if you don't have a plan in writing, you don't have a plan. So otherwise you just bounce around and, have this thought one day, another thought the other day. So you gotta start to write it down.
Okay. Did I cut you off, Joe?
No, I think you're good.
Nope.
Okay. Sorry. I think we're all doing that Zoom thing where we're, not sure who's talking because we're all in a different space. So I think the big thing too, as we kind of head into the last few moments of this, and I've asked Natasha and Kim and Bill to kind of think about what might be kind of a final thought or takeaway for all of you to ponder. I think we've definitely emphasized that this is a unique time in the world and a unique time in our lives, and things are changing and there are many unknowns, and trying to just kind of breathe in the moment and use some of this time for some of this reflection, I think can help you just feel a little bit more grounded. You're not necessarily going to wake up tomorrow and say, I've got a plan and I know what I'm doing. All of this is a journey too. So it's not a snap your fingers and it's done kind of thing. So I don't want anyone to feel bad that They say, I don't know, I don't know how to answer these questions. I don't know how to plan, and I don't know what I like. It's very much a process, and you're kind of reviewing and unpacking all those thoughts and going from there. So the next thing I want to do real quick is just talk about some of the resources through the alumni office. Okay. So we have Alumni Advisors, which Kim already mentioned. We have the career counselors. So you've just met 3 of them tonight. We also have lots of events, and we've been getting quite a few virtual events. So if you go to umassalumni.com/events, you can see them all there. A lot of people will also be getting emails through our newsletter and things like that, updating about events such as this one. If you're not getting those emails, you can also connect with us to update your email address, because sometimes that's an issue. And then all of the webinars, once we record them, we get them captioned and we put them into the library. So we have lots of great resources of webinars in the past that we did. So you can pull it up, watch a little bit, get some information from it, and use it as a resource. If you go to umassalumni.com/career, that's where you can find all of these resources, and we have additional ones as well. There's an assessment piece on there. There's a tool on there where you can organize your resumes and research different companies. There's a tool on there where you can practice interviewing with a camera on your computer. You do some practice questions, it records it, and then you could share that interview with a career counselor or somebody else to get some feedback on how the interview went. So there's lots of great tools and resources that you can really do at your own pace. And hopefully tonight it gave you a little bit of focus and some thoughts about what might you do next, because like I said, it truly is a journey. So final thoughts from all of you, Kim, Bill, Natasha, on things to think about as we go forth with this pause, reflect, and evaluating your career direction.
Who wants to go?
I can start, it's fine. So I thought of 3 things that I wanted to leave you all with. And in addition to what we all talked about, the research and the reflection and thinking about this is the career you want, I was thinking about mentors, reading, and listening. And I feel like right now, I know for me and some of my clients and students, it's been helpful to just like chill for a minute without making an immediate decision if you can. Now, if you're in a situation where you have to make a decision, that's different. But if you could even take a day or 2 days or 3 days or a week and just say, you know what, I'm not going to make a decision for a bit. I'm going to check in with a mentor. I have mentor conversations weekly for myself, weekly or bi-weekly, depends. So whoever cares for you, people always ask, how do I find a mentor? It doesn't even have to be a stranger. It could be an aunt, an uncle, a cousin that you really admire that turns into a mentor. So please consider finding someone that could be a mentor to you. I don't know what you're reading, but right now I think having some time to get a downpour of information. One of my favorite books is called 3 Feet from Gold. And it literally is just, it's a story of like triumph. And I definitely highly recommend it. And the last thing I recommend is listening. I don't know what podcast you're, listening to. One of my favorites is Dean Graziosi, and he interviews a lot of amazing people, and I just get inspired. So sometimes when we're down and we can't make a decision, we need information to come into us and to help us get to the next destination. So mentors, reading, and listening. I think that would align with your ability to pause, reflect, and evaluate.
Okay, great. Thanks, Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say don't panic. Take a little bit longer look. Based on the very first question tonight, think about small successes. You may not be able to, well, You may not be able to do everything today, but you can do something today. You may not be able to change the world, but you can clean off the top of your desk, or you can have small successes which will build, and that can be important. And then do the introspection. I mean, some people who have asked questions, they're talking about taking major steps, and take a look at the risk and consider it kind of like a Rubik's Cube. There's a lot of pieces to what a career change is involved with. You know, it can be finance, it can be moving, it can be risk, it can be the timing, it can be your financial runway during the transition, it could be the skill sets, all of that. It's a big decision. So take the time and analyze it properly, and don't be too hard on yourself in the meantime. And, you know, you can reach out to us. You get a free one-on-one consulting session. I ran a $150 million business. I've got 600 hours of coaching. All of us have done this for a while. And many of the questions are the same questions that everybody asks, because everybody's going through the same transitional issues. So just take a disciplined approach to it, so that you can make sure that the next thing that you do is good, and it's going to take you in the direction you ultimately want to go. And also, I just like to thank the alumni organization for doing this. They work very, very hard to try and get things that will be helpful and valuable to the alumni of the University of Massachusetts. I did both my undergraduate and graduate work there. I met my wife on the steps of the student union, when the student union had steps, which, if you didn't know, they don't have them anymore. It's all wheelchair accessible. But it's a great university, and I'm still friends with 30 fraternity brothers, and the people in the alumni organization do a lot of work and do some great stuff on trying to provide things that you value. So thank you, and take advantage of that.
I guess my final thoughts include, you know, we live in a world that moves really fast traditionally, and we've slowed down a lot. So how can you find a little extra space for you to do some of this reflection and outreach, and really listening to who you are, what's important to you. Maybe you're spending more time at home than you ever have. We all are, right? Maybe you're spending, you know, it doesn't feel like a slow time if you've got kids that you're managing their work, and spouses, and, you know, all of the other stuff that still needs to happen. But take some time for you. Find some little space and do something that's fun and that recharges your batteries, and allow yourself just to think. Shut down the social media. It's great that you're here tonight, but shut it down and just walk away a little bit. You know, I've said multiple times tonight, I'm a real big fan of reconnecting, and I've made a point during the last 4 or 5 weeks to reach out to people that I haven't seen. So whether it's, you know, a quick email, a quick note through LinkedIn. There's this great video program called Loom where you can send video messages to people. I've been spattering them all over the internet. So find a way that, you know, recharges your batteries. We hopefully we'll never have a time like this again in our lives to have this space to slow down. So take advantage of it. Reach out to any of us, like Bill said, Natasha, you know, we'd be happy to chat with you offline. But enjoy this time the best you can, and you know, do the best thing that you can for you.
Well, I want to give a huge thank you to all 3 of you, Kim, Natasha, and Bill, for being willing to go with wherever the session took us tonight, and being able to be open and honest and offer multiple viewpoints on all the different questions. I think it's valuable to be able to have all of these people in one room, even when it's virtual, so that we can kind of get some information and also some encouragement to move forward, because this is a journey and this is a process. So we hope that you're all hanging in there, and that you'll continue to connect with us through some of our events. UMassalumni.com/career is where you can find details about the career counselors, the Alumni Advisor program, where you can connect and do informational interviews. There's lots of resources available to you, and they're, you know, most of them are free, or it's low cost, discounted rates for alumni. So tap into those resources and reach out. Your commitment to your life was shown by coming today, you know, and saying, I want to get some more information, and we appreciate that. We acknowledge too that people are undergoing difficult situations, and difficult transitions. So we just want to hold all of you in our thoughts as we acknowledge that not every day is a happy day. So thank you everybody for everything. We appreciate you, and I'll send out an email to everybody once we get this onto the webpage with the captioning. Also watch for an email for a survey so that you can give us some feedback on this session. With your feedback is how we decide what kind of content you want next. So thank you so much, everybody. Go UMass, and have a good rest of the night. Go UMass.
Good luck to all
Go
of you.
UMass!